Hello and welcome back to Galverton Parkway. You join me today for an update which will cover off work on the layout that's happened throughout the month of August and the beginning of September. Now, there's not been a great deal of work done, but there is a few bits and pieces to bring you up to speed with. And as you'll realise from my last video, if you watch that, the reason that I haven't been doing much on the layout of late is because our baby boy arrived with us on the 9th of August. So Ezra, our little boy, arrived with us on the 9th of August at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, weighing in at £7.9. So both mother and baby are doing well, and we're very, very proud and pleased to welcome him to the family. And most of all, I'm really pleased to be able to have someone to buy model railway stuff for at Christmas. So that'll be fantastic. Anyway, I'll take you through what I've done. As I said, it's not much. There'll be a couple of new locos to show you, bits and pieces around the traction maintenance depot, a little bit of change at the railway station, and hopefully I'll give you some idea of where we are, and I can outline some of the things I hope to do over the next few months. So here you'll see we're back in front of the traction maintenance depot, and the last time that you would have seen this, there wouldn't have been any of the scenery down in front of it. So I've ballasted in front of the traction maintenance depot itself, and I've started to populate the area with some grasses and get things overgrown. There's still quite a few finishing touches to go through at the moment. I've got lots of bits and pieces I want to do around here. You'll note there's no buffer stops on that little head shunt there, but as you can see, this is an area that's starting to come together quite nicely now. I'm quite pleased with the way this has come out. All of the track has been weathered using my standard methods. Standard methods are airbrush applications using rail match paints for weathering. I've used sleeper grime and bits of oily steel, and I've actually used some Humbrol gloss black to create oil stains closer to the TMD, and I will just pan over to those for you now. So here you can see some of the oil staining that I mentioned on this road. I've just used a gloss paint to give it a shiny effect to make it look like that oil was still pretty fresh. I thought it gives a decent look to it, and it gives the impression that locomotives have just been stood there for a little while. I know it's nothing groundbreaking and stuff that's been done before by plenty of people, I'm sure, but yeah, that's what I've done to get that area looking good, and I will pan back round so you can see down. And I think that's all blending in really nicely now. As you'll know, that this area was all ripped up, and the sidings that you can see behind the depot area are actually previous existence of parts of the old layout. I think I managed to blend it all in quite nicely. Now, as I mentioned to you, I have had a couple of new locomotives just recently, and this locomotive here is probably the first of the ones that you haven't been introduced to yet. So I'll just take you through a little bit of information on that. This one is a Hornby Class 60, locomotive number 60077, named Canisp in mainline triple grey livery. And it's not showing up very well on the camera, but the locomotive has been weathered. Quite happy with the way that's been weathered. I have added some couplings there, so they're quite discreet wire hook couplings. I tend to find that these work a lot better on the Hornby Class 60s, as the couplings that are actually offered on the locomotive sort of swing around the derail wagons. I'm sure many of you that own Hornby Class 60s will be aware of that, so I've just got around that by putting the wire hoop couplings on there. So I'm quite pleased with this locomotive. Now, because this locomotive arrived, it did mean that I got rid of one of my other locomotives to help fund it. The locomotive that I got rid of was the EWS Class 60 with the big beastie sticker branded on the side, number 60014. Now, this locomotive is quite late towards the end period of what I actually model and the era I model, so this mainline liveried locomotive is actually of better fitting for the layout, so I've replaced it with that. And that locomotive headed over to my mate Jacob Hampson at Redwater West TMD. I'll drop you a link to his channel in the description of this. So thanks, Jacob, for purchasing that, because it meant I could have this. Nice one. Cheers, pal. Now I'll just give you another quick angle of the locomotive so you can see it there. I haven't put any drivers inside the locomotive as of yet, but that's something that might follow at a later time. Now, looking at this through the camera, the brown sort of muck that comes up onto the side of the locomotive comes over a bit weird on my camera. It looks kind of rubbish, but in real life it looks alright, don't worry. I haven't lost my touch with weathering. Now, you were introduced to this locomotive last month. It's locomotive number 07001 in HNRC livery. Now, this locomotive has, since you last seen it, been weathered, and I've also named it Ezra. After the addition of the little boy to our family, I decided that I'd name the smallest loco that I own after the smallest person that I own, which I thought was pretty cool. The nameplates are made by Steve Bell over at Railtech. There is 3D printed nameplates. They're absolutely fantastic, really good value for money. I think they cost under a fiver, and he can print pretty much any nameplate that you want. So they're well worth looking at and a really good alternative to etch nameplates. So have a think about those in the future. But yeah, this is 07001 Ezra. So here we are now over at the station side of the layout. Now, as I alluded to in the last video, there's been some changes over this side. Now, I had started the redevelopments of the station area when I was filming the last video, but it weren't in anywhere near a complete enough state to show you. To be perfectly honest, it's still not in a complete enough state to show you, but I thought I'd share my ideas with you. So the old station buildings, to be honest with you, I never quite got comfortable with the idea of that station building. It looked a bit too modern. I didn't quite like the canopy. I thought it looked a bit try-hard and a bit contrived. When I was originally building the station area of the layout, I was struggling for ideas. I put a thread up on RM Web, and people effectively sort of created an ideas board and just slammed loads of pictures of various different prototypes and models and things that they're seeing, and I used some ideas from that, and to be honest with you, I didn't really like what I'd built. Yeah, I thought it was something that needed changing. Now, this gives me the opportunity to backdate the layout and backdate the building to something a little bit more authentic for the period that I'm modelling. The old building was a bit modern looking, and it didn't look very good. So it's been removed, and I'm going for something that's a bit more in keeping. Now, this is actually based on the station building at Banbury. I've done a lot of research into sort of stations that go over railways, and Banbury was one that appealed to me looking at it. There's a fantastic N-gauge layout out there that's got a model of Banbury, and I think the station itself in real life spans 4, 5, 6 tracks, but I thought I could probably lop out a section of it and have one section of the actual station building. Now, the only thing I did really like about the last station was the fact that I had the lift towers. So I've, again, looking at this and the design of Banbury station building, the lift towers was something that I could retain. I like those. I like the little British Rail logos on the top of the lift towers. I don't know why, I think they look pretty good, so it gives me the opportunity to keep those. Now, just to talk you through the overall plan for the station. Now, where the stairs come down on the near side towards the camera, that sort of arrangement will be repeated on the other side, and then extending off from there will be a waiting room and canopy. If you look at the prototype pictures of Banbury Station, that's pretty much exactly what it looks like. So that's the kind of thing I'm going for. As I've said before, when it comes to scratch building, I'm by absolutely no means a master craftsman. I do something that I think is a fair representation of what I'm looking for. This at the moment, it all looks a bit sterile and sanitary. It'll need a good weathering, toning down, pegging back and blending in. But once I've got it in place, I think it should look okay. Focusing now on one of my favourite areas of the layout, the nuclear flask depot. I'm just going to talk you through how I intend to use this going forward. So I've decided to have some little running sessions to see how it all performs. I'm quite pleased with the way it's working so far. So as you know, we have locomotives running in off of the main line into this side in here. They will effectively then shunt the wagons back down to here, and a little shunting locomotive that we stored where this 37 is will come in and pull the wagons underneath the gantry. That's the idea. What I've also decided is that if I just pan back round, if you look next to the station, there's a siding. You can see where that red buffer stop is. Now, that siding was, I used to fill that with, I had Railtrack MPVs, and I used to leave Thunderbird locomotives in there. What I'm going to do now, I won't actually be using that for that purpose. If you look at the track plan and the way it works, just excuse me while I try and adjust this tripod. There's a bit of a rudimentary way of doing this. There we are. You'll see that actually links up nicely with the nuclear flask depot. So what I'm doing with this, I tend to be running the flask trains into the layout, into the nuclear flask depot. They'll run into there, and as I mentioned, the shunted manoeuvre will perform. We'll get all the wagons shunted to where they need to be, and then I'll roll the locomotives back out into that area for storage. So that's ultimately going to be the area that I think where staff would clock on and clock off. It'll be operated by DRS, this depot, as that's the company that run the nuclear flask trains. If I want to run the layout a little bit earlier, I am considering putting together an older flask train with some barrier vehicles and maybe a class 73 or class 31, something random like that, just to give me a bit of variety. But that station, that siding by the station there, that is going to be used to store nuclear flask locomotives. Now, I dare say you will have noticed from the last clip where I was showing you around the station and the changes for how I operationally are going to use the flask depot and sidings, etc. You will have noticed this locomotive. This locomotive is another new locomotive to the fleet. This is number 20904. Now, I wanted to get a class 20 to pair up with my class 37. So the class 37 will run in tandem with this locomotive. It'll be the 37510, which you can see to the left of this shot, or 37688, which you can just make out to the right of this shot, that will run with this locomotive. Now, this locomotive was a model rail limited edition some time back. You'll note with this locomotive, it's actually got lights fitted to it. Now, the locomotive, if you're familiar with Bachmann Class 20s, will know does not come fitted with lights. I have had this done separately. I've had a gentleman called Jason Edmonds fit these lights for me. You can contact him through eBay, and his username is StickSwipe. Fantastic job he's done on this. I think I posted this off on a Monday, and I had it back by the Saturday. That was how quickly he turned it around. All the lights are DCC controlled, so you'll have red lights on the front, and then red lights on the front and the back, and obviously the leading headlight and marker lights on the front and on the back as well, which are all controlled independently by the DCC decoder. This locomotive, I paid a little bit more than I wanted to for it, but after I'd done a lot of research on flask traffic around the period of time that I model, it was these locomotives that were predominantly operating the flask trains prior to the class 20/3. So that's why I've got this. Again, for some reason, the weathering is showing up really weird in this video. It doesn't look that dodgy in real life, but yeah, I'm quite pleased there. It looks quite nice. I've got I've done the wire couplings there again, but with this one's actually got the tension lock fitted as well. I found that when double heading the locomotives, the tension lock coupling and my wire coupling clashed together. They didn't work very well, but using the two tension lock couplings together, they work very well. I use a Z21 system, and I use that to consist. So what I'll do at some point is make a video on consisting on the Z21, so you can see the steps you have to go through to get that to work. It's quite interesting, and I think it's probably by far the best and most accurate consisting system out there that I have used since I've been using DCC. So one of the other decisions I've decided to make with the layout, now last time out, you'll remember that I said that the siding, there was going to be a little safety siding here that comes off of where the TMD runs. There was going to be a sand drag here to stop runaway locomotives. I've decided to scrap that idea, and the reason I've decided to scrap that idea is purely because I found this little head shunt very useful when actually running the layout. It's really good for running trains around and about the TMD. So you'll notice here I've got locomotives stored on the right hand side. You can see the class 60 that we looked at a little bit earlier. It allows me to run locomotives all the way down from there into that head shunt, possibly be stored there, and then run them back to the left hand side of the depot and out to pick up a freight train. So you can see the back of where that rake of MGR wagons is. Possibly you could run a train onto that, but that's the idea. So basically just to use that as a head shunt. I found it really useful when I've been operating the layout. If that was a sand drag, I wouldn't be able to use it for that because the sand would need to start somewhere around here. That's not what I want to do. So if you'd seen, I haven't really got enough room to clear the points here and shunt the locomotive back that way without going onto the main line. But if I leave that there as a head shunt, I'm quite pleased with that. So I'll be leaving that like that. I also hope with this part of the layout, which is again where there's going to be a scenic break, to get the wood in for that so that I can start to work on that. I'm looking to build a motorway bridge there. That's the kind of thing that I can build the basic construction of up here and take downstairs to paint, weather and detail and build. So that's something that I'll be looking to do. Again, hopefully by the next update there might be some movement on that. I can't guarantee it, but hopefully that's what I'm looking to do. So the other thing that I managed to do before our little boy arrived was to get the other end of the loft boarded up. So between the beams there's a sort of little raised step section you can see that covers the gap that was between the existing floorboards, and I've carpeted that over with some excess carpet which was kindly accidentally delivered to us when we bought the carpet for the baby's room. So to be honest with you, quite a nice bit of carpet there, and it makes it a lot more comfortable to be up here. It's a nice room to be in now. It's a good space, nice and comfortable, so I'm quite happy with that. Now that pretty much concludes today's video. Before I go, I would like to quickly mention an exhibition that I'm going to be attending with Talbot Lane next month. There's a couple that I'm going to, but the one I'd like to mention on this occasion is the Swansea Railway Modellers Group exhibition. So it's a local exhibition to me, and it's on in the first weekend of October. It's Saturday and Sunday, and it's based in the LC in Swansea. So this show is a really good show. It's an up-and-coming show that's organised by a good friend of mine, so I really do think it would be great if you could come along and actually have a look. I think the entry prices are a really good value for money, and there's going to be a couple of fantastic layouts there. The show is shaping up to be the biggest show in South Wales, and that's definitely the way they're trying to promote the show and to get the exhibition to be. So come along, have a look at that exhibition if you're in the area. If you're just over the river in Bristol, I'd encourage you to come as well. It's definitely worth the trip. I know living in Swansea, being stuck out on a limb, we have to do a bit of travelling to get to exhibitions. So if you guys want to return the favour and come and have a look at our exhibition in Swansea, that'd be fantastic. I'll be there with Talbot Lane. It could shape up that this is going to be my penultimate outing with Talbot Lane. I have got a deal sort of in principle agreed for the sale of the layout. There's a couple of potential buyers for it at the moment, and I'm looking to hopefully get that moved on. There's a chance that will be leaving my possession after the Great Electric Train Show, which is the weekend after the show in Swansea. So that will free me up then to look at building my next exhibition layout, but that'll be something that will probably be a project for next spring, something that I can do once the weather's improved. I can do it in the garden as well, and it's something that I can actually do once the baby's a little bit older, and I reckon by May time he'll probably be looking after himself. He won't need us much. He'll probably be going down the shops on his own and doing most of his own washing, be able to go to the toilet and potty trained on his own, cooking his own dinner and making us tea. So that'll be fantastic. So I reckon spring's going to be a good time to do it. I'll leave you with that now. Probably in the next video you'll see from me will be a running session. I know I've been nagged by quite a few people to do a running session. If I can get some decent camera angles set up and put together some nice workings for you, I'll do that and I'll get a video out as soon as possible. Thanks everyone for your comments and your subscribes and your likes. It really is appreciated. Keep the feedback coming. I do enjoy it, and it is really useful for when I'm actually doing stuff on the layout. And as you'll know, if you provide me with feedback, I will listen to it and make adjustments to the layout accordingly. So thanks very much again for your time. I look forward to speaking to you all again soon. Stay safe and have fun. Cheers. Bye now.